Artificial intelligence is growing fast and far beyond what we are prepared for. This is the Urban Sentinel, and let's get into it. How much of what you see and hear online do you truly believe is real anymore? We live in an age of unprecedented information access, but what if the very tools that connect us are weaponized to sow mass confusion and dismantle the thin veneer of reality? Today we're going to dive into a possible and somewhat plausible scenario where the lines between distorted truth and fabricated lies become dangerously blurred amidst a tsunami of coordinated attacks. What does a modern day December 5th, November 22nd, or September 11th look like when the attacks aren't just on ships or airplanes or buildings or people, but on the very fabric of our digital world and our perception of reality itself? Physical attacks are nothing new. Cyber attacks have increased in their regularity over the years that only the very pervasive attacks make headlines. Crucially, we now add the element of AI-driven disinformation. Search trends around deepfakes, AI voice cloning, manipulated media, they're all highly relevant here. Media reports on the increasing sophistication and accessibility of these technologies will support this point. Beyond the physical and digital disruption, this new form of warfare leverages realistic AI to bring another dimension into play. Creating fake audio, video of public figures, not just nationally recognized, well-known individuals, but your local, your state officials, your TV and radio news and media personalities as well. Local media broadcasts could have their feeds altered, interrupted, small segments manipulated by AI that can be slipped in. And AI can simulate events in a realistic detail, entirely fabricated news reports, complete with AI-generated witnesses, and manipulate footage. This could depict non-existent attacks, attribute blame falsely to someone, or misrepresent the extent or location of actual damage or any type of disaster going on from the real emergency, furthering the fueling and confusion of the division. Now imagine if hackers, both abroad and domestically, coordinated multiple intrusions into communication systems, servers, call networks, broadcast towers, AI-driven programs that coded to not just simply present a fake video, but instead to be used to send false cell signals, fake text messages, even intercept calls and replace them with realistic voice responses. This would be particularly effective, I'd say, in creating localized chaos and distrust among the emergency or governmental services and the media. Fabricating online articles and social media posts at a scale so vast it becomes incomprehensible. And of course, it will spread like a wildfire, with people reposting, retweeting, and sharing this information, arguing back and forth over what is or isn't real, if it is real in fact, or if it's fake and how much of it is fake. AI could generate believable but entirely false narratives, overwhelming legitimate news sources, and making it nearly impossible for the average person to discern truth from fiction. Even going far enough to generate a false video of the media outlets themselves acknowledging the hacking and assuring the public that the situation is under control could be completely generated by these programs, and you would not be able to distinguish that truth from actual truth. The weaponization of AI, not just as artificial intelligence that we recognize now, but also as artificial general intelligence, something that is on the horizon and coming. This next level in cyber dominance will be far superior, and it can fundamentally undermine the trust in all forms of information, news, social media, even direct communication. Imagine if 911 dispatchers receive calls from verified addresses and confirmed cell phone locations, but the caller and even the location is a false generation by AI. It creates a fog of uncertainty that exacerbates the chaos caused by not just the physical and the cyber attacks, but now by the social disruption that occurs afterwards in their response. Could the United States really face a half dozen global crises at the same time, forcing it to choose between a kitchen fire at home and a wildfire burning down the block? while simultaneously battling a shadowed enemy that seeks to distort our perception of reality itself? It is a possibility. AI-driven disinformation would be used to amplify the chaos and confusion created by these global events. For example, false reports could be spread internationally to undermine U.S. credibility with allies and incite further conflict between other nations. The trust but verify goes down the toilet when almost all your means to verify are now suspect. When the supermarkets are emptied out, the ATMs are offline, your cell phone has no service, and you can't even be sure if the news you're seeing on TV or the voice you're hearing on the radio is real. How long does it take for a society to completely unravel? The introduction of realistic AI for disinformation adds a critical layer of psychological impact. Individuals would not only be dealing with the broken essential services, but also the pervasive sense of uncertainty about what is actually happening. The very AI creating false news stories can also relay actual truth, but then who would trust it? Who would trust the person that says it's real and not fake? The erosion of trust in the information sources would make it incredibly difficult to coordinate aid, to understand the true extent of the crisis, or even know who to believe or what to ignore. Is a nation's strength truly in its military and its economy, or is it in its ability to remain united in the face of absolute chaos? And a deliberate, sophisticated campaign to shatter its collective understanding of which way is up and where the exits are. The strained resources and the threat to national unity are amplified by the challenge of combating widespread disinformation, compounded by individual speculation and opinions of the best course of action to take next. The government would not only need to respond to the physical and cyber threats, but also wage a constant battle against manipulated information, making effective communication and the restoration of order exponentially more difficult. If the world's most dominant superpower is preoccupied with domestic meltdown, while also struggling to discern fact from fiction within its own borders, does that simply create a vacuum for everyone else to rush in, potentially building their own new world order on a foundation of manipulated realities? The understanding that the global information landscape itself would be destabilized, other nations might exploit the chaos and the erosion of trust to advance their own agendas, potentially using similar AI-driven disinformation tactics on a global scale. This scenario paints a disturbing picture of warfare right now in the 21st century. It's not just about bombs and bullets or even codes and viruses. It's about the weaponization of perception itself. The ability to convincingly fake information on this scale possess an existential threat to the cohesion in our ability to respond effectively to any crisis. Now, I just want to sort of put all these suspects into a lineup and see if I've done enough to connect them together. First, escalating geopolitical tensions, as an example, US-Iran, Russia-Ukraine, China-Taiwan, numerous others. These could provide the potential motivation or trigger for a possible state-sponsored or individual independent disruptive actions. They increase the likelihood of a hot conflict spilling out into the digital realm. 2. Advanced cyber warfare capabilities, AI, artificial intelligence, and AGI, artificial general intelligence, are going to be the tools of the trade in this warfare. And with that being said, the rapidly enhancing and sophistication scales of cyber attacks would also increase. They would enable more precise targeting, faster exploitation of vulnerabilities, more resilient attacks on critical infrastructure. Instead of one hacker spending hours upon hours writing thousands to hundreds of thousands of lines of code, you now have a program that you simply give parameters and you can cookie cutter that over and over again and then tweak those codes to your particular desire. It can affect everything from power grid fluctuations, restrict the internet and communication, alter and affect finance and trading. A supply chain breakdown would be inevitable in any of those cases, and this would be a target that would have immediate consequences. 4. Supply chain fragility and the economic independence that we are used to currently. A major disruption in one key nation, such as the US, would have an imminent and severe global repercussions due to the interconnected supply chains and the financial systems. This is the global ripple effect that will go out and bounce off of every shore, every coast, every country, every continent within a matter of time. 5. Societal resilience, information warfare, the ability for a society to withstand a prolonged disruption, and the role of information or disinformation, potentially AI generated, in shaping public opinion and the response during a crisis. This impacts the recovery and the internal stability of any nation affected like this. And it's one of those cases where until people can feel confident that what they know is actually what is real and it is the truth, it's not simply a matter of your opinion versus my opinion on the subject that we both see in front of us, but now determining if that actual subject is real or if it is fake, and then move forward from that point to determine how we're going to handle it. The questions that we've been exploring today highlight the urgent need for government and media transparency. There are cases where, simply put, tell us the truth and let us decide, have been put far aside to the back in terms of it needs to be held at a higher level, or we'll decide what we're going to do and then tell you the results afterwards. Also, though, better civil discourse between different types of groups, corporations, and individuals to have conversations rather than arguments, that not everything is up for debate, but everything should be debatable. A more robust way to verify what is put online, to essentially know what is the truth and what is someone's idea of the truth. Whether or not you agree with it, that becomes irrelevant, but we need to have a way that we can look and see and read and understand and share without getting confused as to what is actually real and what is just someone's idealized version of what they would like to see be real. There's so many things to think about, and so many things can change, but that's it for now, and I'll catch you in the next one.